Hello, I'd like to pour a little bit of my heart in this video. I don't really know how this is going to go. I know there's a lot of background noise, but I'm in the park right now, so there's not much I can do. I'll just pause the video whenever helicopters pass by. But yeah, the idea is pretty much that I share some things that are in my heart and that have been lately. This is probably not going to be very organized. I don't know if I can think of a theme, so I don't even know how, like, what I should post in what I should write in the title. But I would just like to, I don't know, get this picture of what I've been thinking. And yeah, so for me to begin this video, I'd like to share something. As I was on my way to the park, I was reading a little bit of a sort of journal I keep every now and then, that I write every now and then, and I found this entry to be, I don't know, sort of interesting for me, and I think it could be a good frame for us to open this video. So this is an entry from November 18, 2025. This week I was very happy because a gentleman gave me his seat on the train and he smiled at me. And I went happier to my class and with my heart feeling warmer. Tomorrow I'll have my last test of the year. I am at the same time excited for vacation, but I'm also feeling anxious. I'm afraid, and I'll skip some parts just so we can be a little bit shorter, okay? I fear loneliness. I fear losing friendships, the dynamic of the group that I adore, and I'm afraid I'll be forgotten. I'm afraid of how displaceable I know I can feel. Did I say displaceable? I meant replaceable. More than replaceable, the rejection. And sometimes I feel a terrible sadness. I was feeling a lot of this month. I think it's passing, but it's a terrible sadness, terrible hopelessness, terrible despair, terrible incomprehension. Which is curious because in many days, the most I do is write to express myself, but I feel very incomprehended. But I know there is something bigger, pretty to be lived. Not in a single day, but in every day. Which I think that can make us go back to how I opened this entry. This year, I think I found better, or at least felt better, my life purpose. At least in my current understanding. Of course, I will change throughout life. And that purpose would be love. To live this in this world, and mostly to be this in this world. And then there is a quote that I used to close this entry that says, "And even who sees me reading the journey on the bread of the bakery will know that I found you. And no one will say it's too late, and no one will say it's different like that." It's a quote by a band called Los Hermanos. Now, this was from last year, okay? Now, this week, 2026, from the time I'm recording this, today is March 20. This week, one of the days, I was cleaning my house, and something was very strong in my mind. That was a Bible passage that says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you," the Lord says. Just an observation. I don't consider myself to be Christian, but I've read the Bible, and I do think there are very beautiful truths, probably in every religion. I don't know every religion, but I do believe in that. And this verse was very much in my head while I was doing what I needed to. And I think this is very beautiful. And that is something I believe in, or want to believe in. So when a woman is breastfeeding, during those months that mom is breastfeeding, it's very, very, very unlikely that she will forget to feed her baby. Not only emotionally, because she cares about her baby, but also biologically. Her breasts will leak milk. So it's nearly impossible that she will forget that she has a baby. And God says, He uses this example of unconditional love expressed by the love of a mom to her child, to her baby. And He says, even if the most unlikely thing happens, I shall not forget you. And I think speaking a little bit about forgetfulness, I wanted to share another memory that has been on my mind, and that is the memory of a very admirable woman I've met in my life a few years ago. So I was back then in the intercession group of the church I used to attend to, and there was this lady that before the cults would happen, we would reunite, and this lady was the leader of the intercession group, so she would give us some directions. From everything she would say, and from all the moments I consider that she helped me outside of this group, From all the moments I lived in those years around that woman, there is one thing that she has said in one of those reunions we'd have in the intercession group that I think is really fixed in my mind. And that is one time she told us not to be people with a short memory. Of course, she's not speaking of uncontrollable things like memory problems we can biologically or neurologically endure, but she was speaking of putting effort into not having a short memory in our relationships. And the thing with this is, whenever I hear someone speak of such a thing, it's usually directed to the context of us not forgetting the bad things someone has done to us. So for example, when we want to go back to our toxic ex, and the person who is advising us usually tells us, don't you forget what he's done to you. Don't you forget what she's done to you. He was mean to you. And I do think that's a valuable thing for us to do. And that is important because sometimes we romanticize our past and only remember the good stuff or minimize the bad stuff. So this is important. But I think her phrase comes even stronger because she was telling us that most importantly than not forgetting the bad stuff, sometimes we are too prone to forget the love we receive. And I think sometimes we are too prone, sometimes I am too prone to overlook the good stuff that happens in my life. So she was telling us that, and then I separated a quote from a song I love very much from Coldplay. The song in question is called Swallowed in the Sea, and it says, "Oh, what good is it to live with nothing left to give? Forget, but not forgive, not loving all you see. All the streets you're walking on, 1,000 houses long. Well, that's where I belong, and you belong with me, not swallowed in the sea." I think in this context here, the author probably meant this in a romantic way, so you belong with me specifically, but I think we can expand this to humankind, to a humankind frame. So I think we all belong to one another. And I think that's beautiful. I think there is something that connects us all. I think there are many things that connect us all. So if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I'm sure that Schopenhauer would say that what connects us all is our anxiety to conquer things and our dissatisfaction with things. So we would all be connected by a will to conquer our things, and that will was never ending. We would always be wanting and craving more. So while I think that yes, we have as humans a lot of things that connects us and a lot of things that we all face, and that makes us more alike, I think the greatest thing that connects us is love. A few weeks, I think, ago, I was talking to my brother. I was opening up a little bit to him, and I mentioned in the middle of my speech, I mentioned love as an eternal force, as if that was something given, and he questioned me, not not challenging me, but just trying to understand really. And he said, "Why would love be an eternal truth?" And though that's a very simple question, that was really in my head. Like, this conversation happened a few weeks ago, and I'm still thinking about this. While I don't, while I don't have these answers, and of course there are philosophers and metaphysical explanations to that. So, for example, Plato would claim that love is an eternal truth because when we seek love, we are seeking the eternity that's within all of us. I feel like I might be wrong in my saying. Like, I'm almost sure, but that's not even the case. I'm very close, but that's not even the case. So I'm not going to enter and explain Plato because I think I'll fail to do so greatly. Uh, but we do seek this beauty and we seek this eternity, each one in a different forms, different shapes, different ways. And while some religions claim that we all seek a meaning and we look for God because we are lacking beings, and God is love, I forgot where this phrase was headed. But anyways, while I don't have the question, like a definite while I don't have a definite answer to that question, and I don't intend to have, that is just something I believe in, or like I think I said at the beginning of this video, that is something that I want to believe in. And there is a very beautiful text I have fixed in a mural, on a mural in my room, and I'd like to bring this text here. It's also a text from the Bible, and it's the whole chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians. So yeah, it's a little bit long, but I'd like to bring it here. It's very special to me. So the author of this book in the Bible, just as a brief context, he was a Roman soldier, and he had in the past killed a lot of Christians. He then finds God in the way he frames his own story. He is found by God, and he spends the rest of his life writing about God and traveling to speak to people about God and teach what He feels that God is telling him, and hinders prisons, hinders a lot of things, but he is convicted of the love of God, and he is convicted of his mission. That is Paul. So Paul is writing letters to Paul is writing letters to this church in the city of Corinth. The place, I don't know. And the thing with this specific church is they were a very good church in the matter of they had a lot of gifts. So people in that church were very efficient in the spiritual disciplines. They would speak in tongues of angels. As we see, even nowadays, people in church speaking in tongues of angels. They would speak in different languages. They had the power of hearing God and being able to give away messages from God. So they were very good at exercising their gifts. So Paul spends a lot of the chapter before this one speaking of the spiritual gifts. They are very important for Christians to exercise even nowadays. And he closes off the chapter 12 with he closes off the chapter 12 by he closed off chapter 12 by saying, and now I'm going to talk about a path that's even greater. So he had spent a lot of his time and words dedicated to speak of those things that they really valued, and he said, now there is something that's even greater. And the next letter is the letter I'll read. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge in the world, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, which no human had to this point in life, but if I have a faith that can move mountains but don't have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast about, but don't have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now, we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of this is love. I think this chapter really moves me. And something I'd like to say, this video is most importantly, and maybe only for myself, as a reminder to myself, because I don't intend with this video and things I'm saying to say that I have found something that other people may have not. This is not my intention at all, because I think there shouldn't be a comparison, but I think if there was a comparison, I wouldn't be in a good spot in that comparison, in the terms of how well I love people, I think. So this is a reminder, I think, to myself of what matters to myself. And I think to each person, some things make sense in their lives for them to prioritize, and some things don't make as much sense. And that's beautiful. That's diversity. And each person, has reached their... I don't know, I think, of course, we all change, but every person knows what matters to them. I just wanted to... I wanted to make this clear, that I'm not trying to speak these things from a from a place of I know what is right, because from all the people I try to be a good person, but I fail a lot of the time, and I'm unavailable a lot of the time. I am easily angered a lot of the time, and I think I'm not loving people when I let myself be dominated by those things. So this is a reminder to myself. And another thing I was thinking about is, yesterday I was out with some friends of mine, and the topic at one time was about the matter of loving someone too hard or loving someone too much. And I didn't say what I was thinking at that moment, but I was thinking about this. I think that was very interesting. And I didn't want to say what I was thinking for some reasons, but I don't think there is such a thing as loving someone too much. And I understood what my friends were saying, because they were talking about prioritizing someone over yourself, and that is a problem. So I understood that, but I don't think you are quite loving someone when you put them as your idol. A butterfly. I don't think you're quite loving someone when you set yourself aside for most of the time in order to prioritize them. Sometimes we frame that as love, and sometimes we frame that as, oh, I'm very selfless. But I think loving ourselves is a very important matter for us to love others properly, which is also a struggle for me. But I think that's very essential, even. I think if you're trying too hard to keep someone for yourself, or trying too hard to please someone most of the time, of course in a relationship there will be times where one part is giving more of themselves and vice versa. I think that's expected. But I think if one part is always giving instead of overflowing onto the other, it doesn't make sense. You're not loving someone, you're not loving the person, I'd say. I think you're trying to get them or trying to keep them, even if you feel very tender towards this person. I don't think tenderness equals love. I don't think liking someone a lot and be willing to give yourself to another person is by itself love. I think especially when we're talking about the long term. And of course, these are my thoughts as of today, and these things change throughout life. But I think love, especially when we're talking about the long term, is more of a choice rather than a feeling and a tenderness you get. So sometimes when you're with someone for a long time, or even thinking about our families, we are disarmored and the person is disarmored, and we often think, you are pissing me off today, I cannot stand you. And I don't think you're not loving the person by thinking this. But I do think you are loving the person if you honor your decision that you once made to respect that person and to contribute with that person's path, even if you're no longer in their lives, because no one is obligated to remain in one another's lives. That happens. So if you're in a relationship, whether that's with your family, your romantic partner, or in a friendship, I don't think you're obligated to remain with them, but I think to honor the love you once felt to the person is very important, and that's a part of why I personally don't believe we can stop loving one another. And I think I know this changes from person to person, and some people say it's totally doable and okay to stop loving someone. That's something that happens, and I understand. I don't think that way. And even if you're not in someone else's life, I think maybe I don't know how to frame this. Maybe I don't quite know where I'm trying to get, because there someone said, I think Einstein said, I don't know, sometimes, no, one time someone said, if you cannot explain something to someone, it means you don't understand the subject yourself. But I guess that's a little bit of how I see things. So even people from a long time ago in my past, or people I haven't spoken with in several years, or people that I felt uh, betrayed by or hurt by. If I think of those people, I think of them through a lens of love. So that's my worldview. I know this changes from one person to another. This last thought, I don't know why I started thinking of this and speaking of this. Maybe I shouldn't have entered this subject. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. I wish I hadn't, because I feel like I wasn't able to sustain my thoughts. But I'd like to maybe close off this video by reading a part of a song that really touches me. It's a song from a singer called Milton Nascimento, and it says, "For so much love, for so much emotion, life has made me this way. Sweet or cruel, gentle or fierce, I, hunter of myself. Trapped in songs, surrendered to passions that never ended, I will find myself far from my place. I, hunter of myself." This is just something this is a song I think about a lot. I had to change places, but I will close off this video as with a reminder to myself, because sometimes I have days of entries like, This anguishes me a little bit. Actually, a little bit too much. I've been thinking about life, and every now and then I come back to a matter of stopping everything. And sometimes I just wish I was brave enough of a girl. But I also have days off. This was the day this person went with me to solve bureaucracies in the street. It was nice, and afterwards we did an activity together, and he was super patient with me, and I appreciate he went with me downtown for a super dose matter without even wanting anything back. Or today I went today I went to the gym and I tried exercising. Today I was vulnerable and I apologized to this person. Today I spent the day outside and I had company and people received me really well and it was really nice. Today I had lunch with these people and it was nice and I felt present and calm and belonging. I think that's a little bit of what's in my mind. Bye.